I knew it. I knew it that it would have been anybody else. And the WWE selected Jey Uso to be the final qualifier for the King of the Ring. And I'm just not shocked. We should be. I mean, the WWE had us thinking it was Karrion Kross, Mr. Iguana, Joe Hendry. But no, it's always the most simplest answer. And the simplest answer is inserting main event Jey Uso. Hi, everybody. My name is Sancho West. And this is Sancho West Wrestling, where we talk about everything wrestling. And if you love wrestling, you're going to love this channel. So consider subscribing. Today's video is going to be a deep dive into the King of the Ring and how I felt growing up in the Attitude Era of the King of the Ring and what I've been experiencing now. It's been this weird feeling. And I figured the only way to figure out what we're dealing with is to go into the past, to figure out what was going down with the King of the Ring. And not only in the sense I like to consider like the 96 to be the starting era of Stone Cold into the now, where last year we had Gunther. So for me, I always felt that the King of the Ring felt like you were like a mid-carder and that you were next in line. And sometimes when I look through history, that was not always the case. You didn't get some random shot. Sometimes you were the next big thing. Think like Brock Lesnar in 2002. Sometimes you were just some guy that's coming on the scene like a Kurt Angle and eventually being an overnight success. For me, King of the Ring always felt like a marked turning point in anyone's career. It was a way for the mid-carder to move up to the main event. It was a way to say like, look, I'm not just on the roster, I am the future. But like, I feel now looking at the bracket with the Randy Ortons, the Cody Rhodes of the world, the Sami Zayns of the world, that formula is basically gone. If you look at it, it doesn't feel that way. And it feels like it's a recapture. It's a way to regain your main event status, but it's so weird to me to see those Cody Rhodes and Randy Orton. It feels like a power play, and I feel like that's the shift that we're seeing this TKO era, that you can't just be an organic person trying to get over. You got to be a name for yourself to be able to star in the main event, especially in Saudi Arabia. So let's go ahead and historically think about what the crown meant. It was kind of like a signal flare, like, dude, you need to keep an eye on this wrestler. Think of Stone Cold Steve Austin in 1996. Beat an aging Jake Roberts, right? Cut that legendary Austin 316 promo. You could bump your Bibles, all that kind of great stuff. I'm not gonna do it. I got a terrible Stone Cold, but basically, I looked into it, and after that, he kind of stayed in the mid-card for a while, and through the end of the year, he basically didn't really get into main event. I mean, it was swelling with his promos and things of that sort, but after winning back-to-back Royal Rumbles in 97 and 98, that's when he really began to rise, especially with that program with Bret Hart. Look at it in 97 with Triple H. Even in becoming the King of Kings, he wasn't really winning that much. He was losing a lot of house shows to Mankind, and it was not really his rise with the crown that made him who he was. It was his rise with DX. I mean, he even captured like European Championship gold and things of that sort, and were in a shamble way against Shawn Michaels. Looking at 1998, Ken Shamrock, arguably probably one of the fastest post King of the Ring pushes, especially with the WWE really fascinated with the UFC MMA appeal. And he basically took a spot over with an injured Triple H, and he opened it up for Shamrock to go ahead and grab the Intercontinental title 3 months after winning the crown. But then you have like cautionary tales, right? You have the Billy Gunns of the world, where Billy Gunn with his tag team partner, the Road Dogg Jesse James, and the New Age Outlaws, and all of a sudden Vince McMahon said, you know what, maybe we could make you a star, Billy Gunn. So they separated him, and it basically flopped. Billy Gunn won, but 3 months later he was back with Road Dogg. He was back in the tag team division, winning championships, and never really got that singles push. Alongside the same thing, 2 years later, Edge in 2001, another, you know, Edge and Christian premier tag team going for that singles run. But he had a strong mid-card run where he would win the Intercontinental, win the WCW United States. He would go back and forth losing to Test, and then all of a sudden they had a unification match and he would beat Test. So you kind of feel like they were just doing this unification thing to get rid of that mid-card title for the United States title for the WCW days. Eventually, you all know that Edge would eventually elevate himself to the main event status. Now comes 2002. 2002, you get that stipulation that the King of the Ring winner will get a match at SummerSlam. Sound familiar, right? And the 2002 was Brock Lesnar. And Brock Lesnar, if you talk to Santi, my co-host for the Wrestling School podcast, would tell you his ear off that he's the fastest rising star. So this is the one case that a rocket was strapped to the back of a superstar. He literally beat everybody at King of the Ring and went on to win the championship at SummerSlam against The Rock. So he became the youngest WWE champion. So that right there, it seems to be I don't know if that's what we're going for in 2025. But from there, the idea struck that you're a crown, you kind of equals a contender sometimes in the heavyweight. But now we kind of think about the rest of that, right? After Brock Lesnar, there was a long hiatus, and then it picks back up with King Booker. But that golden ladder that we kind of spent like 20 years or so where it kind of floundered, where you became a mid-card gimmick, and sometimes you had wasted heat as a heel. But like I mentioned, Booker T in 2006 was completely different. He not only became King Booker, but he also had a legit world title run in a memorable character shift to becoming that big heel King Booker alongside with his queen. Almost ran for like a year as King Booker. And then another person, not as elevated status as King Booker, was William Regal, 2008. Actually, he beat CM Punk at the King of the Ring. Now, he had an incredible in-ring credibility, but he didn't really crack that main event scene. He was just a mid-card champion, especially with that IC title run, but then he quickly flamed out. In comes Sheamus in 2010. Again, 2-year break. Sheamus, who started off white hot, had that great main eventer run already, winning championships as one against John Cena, having that, I guess, the major push from the WWE machine. And the crowd for him kind of served as more of a reset. He became King Sheamus, and he had the scepter, and he was more of a villainous kind of rebranding again. And then it kind of reset him back to the mid-card. And so this is the thing that kind of seems to happen now going forward. You think of King Barrett, you think of King Wade Barrett, right? Who basically just became Wade Barrett, King Barrett throughout the entire rest of his career to the very end. King Corbin, the same thing, kind of had the king for a long time, King Corbin, then became Happy Corbin, literally lost his crown to Nakamura. Then you got King Woods, who politicked his way to campaign to get back to the King of the Ring status, but eventually I think he gets injured, and then he gets his crown stolen by the tribal chief, Roman Reigns. Each of those are very strong character gimmicks, of course, but they weren't really that serious, and then it really sustained a main event push. So here we are, 2024, Gunther. And this is where it kind of changes from you're just a mid-carder who's going to get a king kind of gimmick. We always kind of talked about what's going to happen with Gunther. Is Gunther going to be a King Gunther? And I remember in the podcast I said there's no way Gunther's going to put that on his head. It was a very bedazzled crown at the time. I was like, there's no way Gunther's going to put that on his head. He did it. He never really walked it around with it. He just literally carried it. So Gunther, coming off his 666 Intercontinental Championship reign, literally loses at WrestleMania 41 to Sami Zayn. A month later, he rebounds and he wins the King of the Ring tournament, beating Randy Orton. And then he goes on that year to SummerSlam and beats Damian Priest to secure the world title. So that right there is not necessarily a mid-card to main event jump. That was, I don't know, I feel like Gunther was main event at that time. He brought the Intercontinental Championship to that level, and it wasn't even like a hard reset. He didn't become King Gunther or anything like that. He was a main eventer, regaining his throne by way of the heavyweight title at SummerSlam. So now we're in 2025. It's a 2-night SummerSlam looms, and once again, King of the Ring offers a guaranteed title match at that SummerSlam. But the only thing that feels different is the energy from it. And I feel like when you look at it, it's simply because the names that are involved, Cody Rhodes, Randy Orton, Sami Zayn, and potentially Jey Uso to be in the semifinals. When a lot of people were kind of swirling around who could be this mystery, you got those carrying crosses. You got those kind of guys out there, and even though LA Knight was kind of like, ooh, maybe he could advance, carrying cross and things like that, because traditionally it's that thing where the mid-card he could either elevate himself to the top of the mid-card, a la like the William Regals of the world, like the Edge of the time of the world, like the Kurt Angle, who could hold on that mid-card a little bit longer before he gets launched to the heavyweight. But here, it's no longer that. You have Sami Zayn, who would probably be the only one that could main event himself to that singles title. But everybody else in that finals, and I'm just assuming that Jey Uso is going to win, would be considered already main eventers. But for the first time, and I would say in decades, the WWE might be repositioning this whole thing. And this may be the thing that TKO wants to do, that it's not about making stars. It's not about producing or organic stories, or it's not about putting new superstars into the whole thing. And it's interesting because when I tweeted this out, it's like, did anyone else feel weird about this entire field? I posted it on the post here on Sancho West Wrestling. They're like, maybe they don't need new main eventers. And I'm like, okay, that makes sense. But at the same time, when you really do think about it, you kind of really need to start thinking about reloading, so to speak. If Roman Reigns is possibly not going to appear more and more. If more and more main event champions appear less and less, and they're not working champions, especially the undisputed one, according we have to wait till John Cena retires to get another undisputed working champion. Who knows? And what's so bizarre to me is, considering that, quickly on a side note, that John Cena has appeared in the most PLEs ever since he's came back. So what are we doing here with the King of the Ring crown? What does it mean? Is it reinforcing somebody who's already dominant? Is it not really highlighting who's next? And if it's that true thing, then the King's crown is just not for ascending anymore. It's literally, I guess, lack of a better word, for conquest. I just don't understand. I don't enjoy this. There's a lot of things that I feel different about this time in 2025, where the King of the Ring was always his own PLE, but now it's part of Night of Champions. That changed the narrative. And usually, if you look at the history of things, that when King of the Ring winners are on PLE or are not on PLEs or pay-per-views, if they're on Monday Night Raws, that are on SmackDowns, and usually a mid-carder wins those. But if they're on its own PLE, then you're looking at a main eventer winning that, or a potential, again, we're in new territory. You're looking at a name to win the whole thing. The only thing that kind of changes everything is Saudi Arabia. The Saudi crowd tends to want the big names, and WWE wants the big names to win. I could probably be really early on this, but who knows? But that's my thoughts about King of the Ring in its general. Like, it's changed its tone of shift from throughout the years, from being that, hey, this is the person that's next, we should keep an eyes on him, here is an opportunity to drop a rocket on you, to just a gimmick change, and just a not even, it literally fell off from being one of the top 5 PLEs in the business for the WWE to going down to Monday Night Raw, going down to the SmackDown era, and then going back up to its own PLE. Now it's literally part of Night of Champions. Let me know who you can think is going to win King of the Ring, and let me know if you think, if this is the way it's going to go for the future, that you need to be a big name to hold on to that crown. Thank you so much for watching. Sub for more.